Chapter 157, Tru Siang Lucien. Tang Erlianer, who was serving Jiang Swining, vaguely noticed that her girl came back this time, and it seemed that something was wrong. The people from Qingyu and Bafu came to Jiang Mansion in the afternoon, saying that their own girl was beaten by Jiang Swining in front of everyone, and they clearly wanted an explanation. Jiang Boyu persuaded people away with kind words, saying that when Jiang Swining came back to ask clearly, he would give Bafu an explanation. The second girl in the house is in trouble. But when she came back, she heard that the old lady was waiting for her to go, but she said two words lightly, "Don't go." Jiang Boyu was naturally angry, and Meng Shi lost his temper in the house, accusing Jiang Swining of causing trouble at the key moment of the promotion of Princess Linzi, because he didn't want to see his sister good. Jiang Swining went back to the house and only took out an ingot of 10 taels of silver. Then handed over to Lianer and let Lianer take it to Jiang Boyu and Meng's family, leaving only one sentence, "It's good that I beat you, and this bit of silver will reward her to treat her face. If I am not convinced, I can hand over a complaint to the Yamen and pull me to see the official, and then the government will sentence me to pay as much as possible. As long as his uncle's mansion can afford to lose this face. That's pretty much all night." Then he ate as usual, washed, and went to bed half an hour earlier than usual. It seems very ordinary. But Tang Erlianer had been serving her for a while, and she was keenly aware that she had something in her heart, so she secretly breathed a sigh of relief, becoming more and more cautious, and didn't dare to let people disturb her. The next morning, news came from Qingyu and Bafu, saying that Yu was slapped by Jiang Swining in the Shuxiang Inn yesterday and went back, somehow went crazy, fainted, and hit the threshold with his head. I finally asked the doctor to save me, but I woke up a little crazy. Most of the time I don't recognize my father, but once I recognize it, I throw things, pull my hair, scold, cry and make trouble. Some people say that this young lady of Bafu used all her private money to buy the silver shares of Ren Salt Farm, and finally survived the time when she fell to the bottom and was about to rise, but when she returned home, she found that her father and mother had just sold the silver shares on her behalf. Rumors spread everywhere, and the entire Bafu lost face. Jiang Swining, who was involved in the incident, was naturally subject to discussion, and even the true and false words of she and Jiang Sha made up by Yu in the Shuxiang Inn were spread all over the street. Early in the morning, the servant woman from Meng's side came again and asked Jiang Swining to come over. Obviously she was already very angry, and she must be asked for clarification. Jiang Swining was sitting in front of the makeup mirror combing her hair. After listening to the servant's words, her face was extremely calm. She picked up a flower next to her and smashed it directly, hit the servant's head, and said lightly, "This is just the beginning, you have to come to me to settle accounts now, it's too early." In the first 2 years, when she was arrogant and domineering, it was not that she did not use her hands on the maid. Never before has it been so scary. There was even a smile in his voice, but there was silence like a frozen lake on his face, as if there was no fluctuation in his heart, but the guy who copied it directly broke people's heads. The servant woman knew that Jiang Swining was in trouble, and her tone was naturally not very good when she came to speak, but she was smashed on the head by the flower goose, and when she saw the blood, she was frightened of all her courage, and she cried and screamed for a while. Jiang Swining didn't seem to hear it. She picked up a crescent moon earring carved from red coral on the dressing table, hung it on her earlobe, first instructed Lianer to hand over the letter she had written in the morning to Shuzhong to Yu Fengyan, and then instructed Tang to prepare a carriage to go out. Before leaving, she opened the box and took the contract and voucher of 10,000 silver shares of Ren Salt Farm, took it with the letter, and then went directly out of the house to board the carriage and go to the secluded pavilion. Lucien drank sullen tea upstairs in the morning. When I looked up and saw her enter through the door, my eyelids jumped, and a faint sense of foreboding came over me. He got up and greeted, Isn't this the second girl, Zhang? Zhang Xuning said, no. Lucien raised his eyebrows, don't buy anything. Zhang Xuning directly put the contract and voucher of the 10,000 silver shares on the counter in front of him, and said lightly, but sell things. The moment she took out this pile of paper, Lucien's eyes almost popped out, her eyes almost stuck to her hand, and then fell on the counter, and her heart was simply landslide. These pages are stuff. God knows how familiar he looks. Isn't it the same batch that was sold from him at a low price a few days ago? How could it be? In Zhang Xunning's hands? Lucien's temples jumped suddenly, and he felt a stream of blood rush straight to his head, making his lips tremble, and he had to raise his hand to suppress his forehead before he could resist the urge to roar, it was you who secretly bought the silver stocks. In other words, Zhang Xuning herself was in Lucien's position, but she was afraid that she couldn't calm down. It was a rare faux pas to the other party. She seemed very generous, didn't care, and said kindly, it's me. Lucien almost went crazy, you want to sell it back to me now? Zhang Xuning smiled, I happen to be a little short of money in my hand, if Boss Lu can buy it back, it would be great. Lucien. You bought the silver shares from Lao Tzu's hands for 400 yuan and asked Lao Tzu to buy them back at a high price. Isn't it true that Lao Tzu is buying it by himself when he goes out and in it, and he also has to lose a new big sum of silver in vain? When Lao Tzu is stupid, you dream. Zhang Xuning looked at his Tai Ching face, and understood, so he was about to take away those certificates and contracts. It seems that Boss Lu is not interested, I'll ask someone else. Smack. Lucien pressed down the pages and said stiffly, make a price. Zhang Xuning.